with it. Jesus Christ, with my set. This is a one-man show. It's a very low-budget show. I really don't have a lot of money to be replacing shit that I'm break. Oh, my bad. Boys and girls, trashing the set as usual. One-man show, low budget. You know, it is what it is. This is starting to pop, but we have a return of one of our all-time faves. All-time faves right now. This is starting to pop with Dr. Kate. And our very special guest on a fine Wednesday evening, I like to call him ring announcer extraordinaire, one Matt DaCorte. Matt DaCorte!
Oh, why, thank you, Don Kincaid. It is always a pleasure to talk to you, my friend. And, you know, when I saw you were starting to stir the pot once more, I was get in on this. It's always a good time, my brother, and I'm very happy to be here chatting with you tonight.
Well, you always know this isn't my show. This is the fan show, right? You know, this is for us. So we feel the love that you are giving. We're picking up what you're putting down, my man, as one Richard E. Stone will say. Esquire. Well, it's been a minute, and welcome back to the show. And, you know, I know we kind of surround, you know, our conversations around the talents that we have on said STP.
Oh,
That's why we have the talents on, so we can learn about them, see their origins, see where they've trained, see their upcomings. You know, and if they're brand new, we just kind of like to chit chat and get to know them. Either way, we like to chit chat and get to know our talent. We have chit chatted a couple times. You've been on the fan roundtable a couple times. You've been here and there on the STP radar, if you will. Over. Thank you for that. But if you notice, I'm wearing a little bit of merch here. As usual, I like to show a little love to maybe a local promotion or a local talent that I've purchased a shirt from. And right here, we've got Matthias, one of my all-time faves, and one of the kids that I've had some of the most fun in wrestling ever. I literally mean that with all genuine feelings and words, Matthias, if you're watching this. I mean this legitimately. Some of the most fun I've had in wrestling has been surrounding Matthias and what we've done as a fan/wrestler relationship. You know, the dance that we speak of on STP.
Oh, yes.
And I wear this with specific reasoning. You come out of the PAPW training facility over there in East Haven, Connecticut, and they put on some awesome shows over there now on the reg at the training facility. It's not just about what used to be with the Friday Night Alley fights and then go to a different place. But now everything is kind of surrounding the facility. But I know you are bred and molded as a talent from PAPW and, you know, slash maybe a TOS out there and such, you know, and learning the ropes in different promotions. But PAPW being your home promotion, as we've spoken of.
Oh, yes.
And I don't mean to be rambling on here for like a solid 3 minutes, but...
Oh, that's no worries, my man. You're good.
I look back at Matthias. I just typed in on my page his name, and I started sifting through. And one of my favorite moments, probably my favorite match, to be honest with you, out of PAPW was Matthias versus Marcel Williams, Showtime Marcel Williams, for the IC Championship over at PAPW. But it was at, I want to say Malillo.
Yes. Middle School. Lots of good memories back there. That's some
huge
of my
place.
Memories of PAPW.
Yeah. And I know you were a fan at that time. You weren't even in the game, the business.
That is correct. That
right?
that was a little before my time in the business, and before I was involved with PAPW and everywhere else that I've been. You know, I started going to PAPW events as a fan. You know, sitting in the bleachers and having a good time with everybody. So
that's kind of why I bring all of this up. And I know it may be a long-winded intro, if you will, but it just kind of brings us a little full circle, a little history, if you will.
Sure.
2017 was the February 2017 was the date of said match between Matthias and Marcel Williams. And again, I bring it back because that brings us to the days of when Matt DaCorte was a fan and not a worker, if you will, in the business.
Yep.
Talk to us about the transition, because I thought that'd be a really, really cool place, because I know all of the wrestlers start off as fans. We're all wrestling fans,
Oh,
and the ones that become wrestlers and get into the business, they did it because of what they've seen, and they want to emulate what they see on TV with some of their faves that they've watched as a child and such, and saying, I can do that. Now, you as a fan, and not on the athletic side of it, you may look at this from a different perspective than the in-ring talent that are, on the athletic part of what we see in the ring. Talk to us, the fans, about how the hell do you transition from being the fan on the side of the guardrail when we're watching? And I bring this matchup specifically because Matthias looked like a kid. I mean, a kid. Short, shaven, crew cut hair. He still had a physique about him, but he was so young. And he just looked like a freaking 16-year-old kid at that time. and it brings me, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I was going to say, and he has evolved so much in just that short period of time. Because if you think about it, only 5-6 years ago or something like that was. Mm-hmm. And then he's worked his way all the way up to the Paradise Alley Pro Wrestling champion. He's challenging for the BST title this weekend, and he's been here, there, and everywhere. And he's one of my favorite people to see backstage, and I love seeing his matches in the ring too. And nothing but love for that guy, 100%.
He's definitely one of the good ones, if you will. Matthias is.
Yes.
In ring, in the locker room, outside of said facility, chit chatting with the fans, shaking hands, kissing babies, all of that good stuff, But talk to us about watching the shows at PAPW as a fan, a wrestling fan, upcoming, and wanting this to be part of your life, wanting this to be part of your livelihood for yourself and your family down the road, if possible. Okay. That's 2017. Right now, we're at 2023. And in 2019, I did a little shuffling in the Rolodex on the old face page. 2019, 2 years later from that said match that we were speaking of, I did my very first ever Kincaid file with one said Matt DaCorte.
Yes.
Ring announcer extraordinaire.
Yes, that is a memory I will always remember.
So there's a quick timeline. 2017, 2019, first Kincaid file. Fan, first Kincaid file. Here we are, 2023. You're all over the fucking place. I mean, holy shit. And everybody loves you, and you're such a professional. You look beautiful. I always call you Dapper DaCorte. You're just absolutely gorgeous.
Thank you, my friend.
But now that I've been chit-chatting for like fucking 10 minutes, like I'm on cocaine here, talk to us, because we're not on that other side of the guardrail. Right. You've been part of both sides. So speak to us on that, my friend.
Oh, yeah. And I'll kind of, bring it full circle as well, because this kind of ties into a story about me and you. So basically, I've always loved pro wrestling. There have been moments, where I haven't watched, I didn't pay attention to anything, but whether it was watching, the Monday Night Wars as a kid, discovering the independents and, other promotions like TNA Impact in the mid 2000s, coming back to WWE for the rise of CM Punk, to discovering I guess I'll call it the grander independent scene in New England, starting with PAPW. I remember the first show I ever attended, it was because a friend of mine knew somebody who knew one of the guys. It was either, one of the big four of, Big Steve Tracy, Mario Mancini, Paul Roma, and Paul Perez. And once again, shout out to those guys, plus the Guardian of Chaos, Big Daddy. I say it all the time, and I will always say, without them, Matt DaCorte's not here sitting talking with you, Don. And there's lots of other people that helped along the way as well. But, those were, the OGs, like you said, like where we started here. And so I went as a fan with a friend of mine, and it's one of those things. Like I think you definitely, I think, would be able to understand where, if you go to a new place or a new promotion and you see somebody, and whether it's like their in-ring work or whether they're cutting a promo, you just sort of know that, they have it. And one of the things I remember was the show I saw with my friend Richard Holiday open the show, talking on the microphone, and just the swagger he had, the charisma he was bringing, like it was just one of those things. I was in my head, I was like, this guy's got it, and seeing him, go to MLW and seeing him beat a foe in Hodgkin's lymphoma that is greater than any opponent that he will ever face in the ring. It's just, he's had an amazing journey, and I was happy to be, even just a little small part of it that I was. And so seeing that, I mean, it's very cool to see all that. You talk about not only him, but your Dustin Flash Wallers, your Kylon Kings, your Ichibans, and there's so many more that I think both of us might have seen the first matches for these individuals, and to see where they've gone is just from it's just incredible. And not only getting to know them now that I'm on the other side, but even just as a fan seeing their progression, like it's one of the most fun things about what I do. And the transition, to kind of go back to that, it's because I've mentioned this before. I up until I started doing the ring announcing thing and opening up a little bit, I was not the most socially adept. So, and I remember before I did my first commentary gig with PAPW, I stopped by the facility, the school, what have you, down 662 Co Avenue, East Haven, Connecticut. And I met with Mario, and he, showed me around, and I was, there were some of the guys that were and girls that were training. I would go up and he would walk by and say, "Hey, this is Matt DaCorte," and I would shake their hand and stuff like that. And it's like almost like a little nerve wracking, you know what I mean? And because used to listen to all the podcasts, around that time, the Bruce Pritchard one when that was first kicking off, and you read all the interviews, with the stars of the past that I grew up watching. You go in, you shake everybody's hand and this and that, but me being so socially awkward, there were some guys in the ring. I'm like, do I stop them and bother them to go shake their hand? I'm not even a wrestler. Like, am I supposed to do this? I'm just gonna sit down here and just see what happens, And so it was just kind of, I was just like, what do I do? Like, am I a part of it? Like, and my first few events, even I was nervous to even ask if I could go into the locker room, uh, again, like, I was still looking at myself as, just a guy, you know what I mean? Like, I wasn't sure, how much a part of it I really was, if that makes any sense. And then after a while, I started to realize, like, okay, like, they're wrestlers and they have, larger than life personalities when they're in the ring and stuff like that. But they're normal people too, and they're just like me. They like the same anime as me. They like the same music as me. Like, and we all have our little quirks here and there. And after a while, like, people started finding me on Facebook, and there was just like I remember there was, like, in the span of like a few weeks, like, one person found me, and then 5 more people added me the next day, and then like 10 more added me, and I was like, all right, it's starting to feel at home. And now it's like it just feels very special, going back there and seeing people, like, you walk in, you go through the curtain, at call time a few hours before the event, and you see somebody that that you met like a few months ago and you haven't seen in a while. You're like, I know that guy. And you go up, you shake their hand, give them a hug and stuff like that, shoot the breeze a little bit. And the next thing you know, like someone will come in that you saw last week, and you make a joke, "Hey, long time no see," or something like that. Start shooting the breeze with them. And it's just so cool, man. Like, I've met so many amazing people and seen so many amazing things in this experience, that it's something that there's long drives, there's times that you only get a few hours of sleep, and then you got to go back to your shoot job the next day. And and you're just like, oh, like, was it really worth it? And the answer is, fuck yes, it was.
Every time.
Every time. And that.
Now, I'd kind of like to pause, right? Pause, as the French like to say. I'd like to kind of pause right where you're talking about going through the curtain. Well, actually, how do I act in the back when you're starting up? Am I supposed to go up to said person? Am I supposed to go around and do what they do? Am I really a part of this? Okay. Now you take those questions and that anxiety and that nervousness and everything that you remember from kind of jumping in the locker room those first couple shows to right now, walking in at Test of Strength, walking in, anywhere right now where you are have frequented and have those friendships and relationships that you've built over the course of the past some odd years, and we're going to touch on that. Just knowing that you can go up, give said person some love, and thinking about, damn, I remember me being like, not really starstruck, but you don't know the etiquette. Am I one of the boys, as they say?
Yes.
Am I supposed to be doing this?
Right.
So that's a pretty full circle event right there for yourself as a fan to ring announcer right now in the present day.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. And it's after you get adjusted, after you settle in, it's like riding a bike, and then it's fun, like, and even like, yeah, I go see my parents every week. I'm an only child, so I go visit them, have dinner with them, hang out and catch up and spend some time with them. And my dad will ask me, he's like, oh, he goes, did you know everybody on the card? And I'm just like, and sometimes I'm just like, no, I honestly didn't know like half the people. And he's like, oh, well, he goes, that must be the, something like that. I'm like, no, I was like, I love meeting new people now. Like,
Yeah.
love meeting new people. I love seeing what they can do. I like seeing what they're about. And and as much as I love seeing all the guys that I've been up and down the roads with for the past 4 or 5, however long it's been now, it's great meeting new people as well. And like I said, getting to connect with them, getting to know them, and see somebody new. And I just want to double back on something too, because we were talking about the fan behind the curtain thing. There was it was last year. I just want to mention this because, as you know, one of my closest friends, his name was Brian. He had unfortunately passed away due to a medical issue towards the end of last year. And rest in peace, Brian. And it was really rough for me. He was a great friend that I had known before I started this foray into it. And one of the things that we bonded over, one of the chief things that we bond over, there were many, but this was one of the main things, was our shared love of pro wrestling. Go figure. And there was I had to pull out of a Test of Strength show to attend his services, which again, big props to Test of Strength for allowing me to do that. What I do now is, one of the things is the chief thing that makes me forget about all of other life's all. I'm losing my train of, can't even speak right now. A lot of emotions going through my head. But it's what I do when I do the ring announcing. It's the one thing I have right now that really makes me forget about all life's other bullshit. When I'm in with the microphone, I'm at peace, I'm happy, I'm fired up, and I'm ready to go, and nothing else matters. And so to have to experience something so devastating, to say your final physical goodbye, someone that was close to you, and not only that, but losing out on doing the one thing you love that would have let you put aside said emotions for a little bit. Well, it was like a double shot. It was like a kick to the groin and then a punch to the head. But one thing I did take away from that was, I talked to, you mentioned the connections that we've made. I talked to one Ryan Frost before earlier that week, just just for some reassurance, just because, like I said, there was a lot of emotions going through my head that week when I found out about all of that, and he invited me to go see the first ever Tetsu Pro Wrestling show. I was not booked at that event. And again, it's not like it's a big deal or anything like that. It's one of those things. I've said it before, I'll say it again. There are a ton of great voices in the New England and tri-state area, a ton. And if somebody else gets an opportunity, that's tremendous. Believe me, I know firsthand, there's plenty of opportunities to go around for us ring announcers here in the Northeast. So I am definitely not upset at all if, a promoter wants to, go in a different direction and showcase somebody else's talents and abilities. Because Lord knows, if nobody gave me a chance, I wouldn't be sat here right with you right now, Don. But,
exactly. And
yeah. And, but just going back to just wrap this up in a bow, it's like that Tetsu show was the first time I had attended an event strictly as a fan in quite a while.
Wow. I gotta say, oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, it's good. You go ahead. We can always, I can finish off in a sec.
I was gonna say, when I did see you come through the door, you had your street clothes and the old baseball cap, and I was like, Matt fucking DaCorte. I popped. I love seeing the talent come to the shows, but I absolutely extra love seeing the talent come to the shows when they still, at that moment in time in their personal life, boys and girls, because we talk about it all the time. Up here, without here, you can't get all of this, the physical. The physical, you can pump iron, you can do whatever. But if this isn't right, then all of it is not right. So you have to get this right. But seeing Mr. DaCorte come in at such a shitty time in his personal life, I extra love to see the talent come to the shows on their off dates. But you were taking a minute off for your own self up here to get right. When I seen you walk through the doors, I knew exactly why you were there. Sometimes you just have to say fuck it so you can forget all the bullshit, because on this show specifically, we talk. There's a force field, there's a bubble, there's something magical. I could drive into the parking lot, all shit from that day at work, from that week at work, from whatever that week, blah, 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 blah. There is some kind of magical force field that when you drive to right into the parking lot, I don't even have to get out of my goddamn car. I can see some of the fans, or I can see some of the boys and girls making their way, because I show up there early. I like to stalk. I mean, I like to hang out a little bit pre-show. But I absolutely loved, in that specific time and place, seeing you walking through the doors. I knew it was the best thing for you. And whenever you told me that Frosty gave a little reach out, I'm like, he's the best human in the universe, one Mr. Frosty. But I know I kind of, again, I talk a little long-winded, but
oh, you're good, man.
The emotions get running, because seeing you walk through the doors as a fan in a time, in a shitty time in your life, it's like he didn't have to come here. He didn't have to say yes to anybody whoever invited him, because I didn't know at that time. Or if you just showed up on your own and wanted to make face or whatever. So it says a lot to really get the fuck away when you have to. But then it really says a lot to, right now, I kind of need my friends. And I'm going to go and hang out at Tetsu's debut.
Right. And that was the thing, knowing I had the night off, and then the next day, like I said, if everything was normal, it would have been Test of Strength Day, but it was not, and so having to face something like that the night before, my options were either, well, I could sit at home and wallow in my sorrows. I could, find solace in the bottom of a bottle and just drink myself into oblivion, or I could go and see all my friends and, and try and forget and, be happy for a little while. And the latter was definitely much appealing than the two former options. Much more appealing. And so it was just one of those things too. It's like, you know, I had the opportunity to sit down with you and Mama Frost and stuff like that, and we were
Yeah.
all, you know, chanting and, you know,
Being fans, being fans.
yes, exactly. I and like I mentioned, that was the first time that I had done that in a while, and it felt good to just be able to be a fan again for a little while, and to not have to worry about, you know, running the show and plugging sponsors and stuff like that, and just sit back and relax, and you know, poke a little fun at your friends, you know, and you know, do some funny chants and stuff like that. And it was great. And the thing that really um you know, solidified it for me was that I'm pretty sure the last time I went to an event just as a fan was with my buddy Brian.
Oh
And
wow.
we had, yeah, we had gone to, you know, a lot of events together. Our favorite promotion was the original NXT Black and Gold. And, you know, we saw a bunch of different takeovers, and
Nice.
it was almost like, you know, when I was driving home, it just was almost like that nostalgic feeling. Like, you know, it was almost like he was there with me in spirit, you know, with us in spirit, you know, the cheer, you know, doing the chants and the cheering and the booing and stuff like that. And let me tell you what, thank God I had, you know, some pictures and footage of those events I attended with him saved, because, you know, it made me remember. And I went home and, you know, I put on some of those. And like, for instance, there was Bobby Roode was coming out, and we always used to joke around about how no matter what ring announcer it was, they would never put the D on the end of Rude for whatever reason. So it was sound like Bobby Roode. And so like he comes out, and like you can hear both of us just going, Bobby Roo. And dude, like, I was smiling, but at the same time I was freaking welling up so bad I probably could have ended a drought in like 60 countries. But
Mm.
I mean, that just goes to show, though, like, the I guess the camaraderie, not only between, you know, the men and women in the back, you know, whether it's, you know, wrestlers, production personnel, referees, all that, but also connection we have with, you know, people out in the stands. Because like I said, like one of my favorite parts of that night was just sitting around with you and just yelling and just being a fan again. It was a lot of fun. And you know, it made me feel really good in the time that was really bad. And so that's kind of how the fan worker thing goes kind of full circle for me right there.
You know, that is quite the full circle, because you know, fan, worker, fan, but still a worker, you know, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Six-sided ring too at Tetsu. That adds a little different flavor, right?
Yes, absolutely. And you know, we use that same six-sider for cosplay championship wrestling,
Mhm.
which is something very unique and something very fun. I've been very fortunate to do both in 2021 and 2022, and hopefully as well for this year in 2023. And I remember when Mr. Xander Litt told me that it was going to be a six-sider. I was just like, oh yes, because as I had mentioned at the top, you know, one of the things that brought me back into wrestling in the mid 2000s was TNA Impact, and they had a six-sided ring, and that was the first time
Mhm.
I'd ever seen it, and that was part of the appeal for me because it was something different. And so just to, you know, get to step in there and, you know, see the different dynamics and stuff like that,
Yeah.
and talk to the men and women working it to see, you know, what they thought about it. It's fun, man. And it adds a little something different. And, you know, whether it's Tetsu, whether it's cosplay, you know, definitely show them some love, man. They got a good thing going on in both respects.
Absolutely. When I had Skylar Gray on here, we talked cosplay and how she became the Black Canary and stuff, and she was like, it was on the fly. It was, it was kind of like I didn't know the character per se, and I looked it up real quick. I seen what she does, and I was like, I can yell and scream. I'm like, yeah, no shit, right?
Hey, she
uh,
nailed.
yeah, but what threw me off was, you know, let's be honest, at that time, it was full blown. Battle Academy was like in their prime, and you know, blowing doors down everywhere they went and collecting gold and whatnot. She's not a good girl in Battle Academy. When she's at when she's at cosplay, the fans absolutely love her. I don't know what the hell happened. So Tetsu, that first show, I'm at the aisle where, you know, you're looking down this way at the curtain, okay? I'm on the corner right there. Obviously, you know, we're hanging out. I'm at the aisle, and she comes out. Everybody at Tetsu, they seen her and recognized her or something from cosplay or some shit. I don't know how this even happened. Everybody in there, but me, are cheering for her, and I'm standing up with my damn phone, and I am booing her like I do anybody else. She looks at me, and she's like, "Yay! Yay!" And I'm like, "Yay! Yay!"
Like, what kind of bizarre world is this?
Yes, I've spoken about this. Promotions. I need to be prepped for this. I'm 52 years old. I don't, you know, my emotions can't be toyed with like that, okay? She's a bad girl no matter where I've seen her. Except for over there, she had to kind of give me a little hey, and I'm like, okay.
Well, let me tell you this. First off, I want to say, you know, Skylar Gray, you know, whether you love her antics or whether you hate them, whether it's the Black Canary, whether it's Battle Academy, she is one of the, you know, in my opinion, one of the top up and coming women's wrestlers that there is in the scene right now. If you get a chance, I'm sure it's on your page. Definitely do check out everyone. Watch her match with the notorious Mimi, FKA Sloane Jacobs from NXT. That was a very fun match, very good match, and you know, that showcases, in my opinion, two of the best women's wrestlers that we have right now. And I was very happy to be a small part of that. And again, you know, I think the sky's the limit for someone like Skylar Gray. And that was another individual that I've, you know, seen since the beginning. And, you know, watching the evolution, it like I said, that's one of the best parts, for at least from my perspective, is getting to see you know, this young talent evolve and grow, and to see just how far they can take it. And I think, you know, there's no place that she can't go. I think she's got a very, very good potential. It's going to be exciting to see what she can achieve. But in addition to that, in addition to, you know, getting used to your surroundings, as you may know, there was a promotion in Rhode Island that I think both you and I have attended in the past, called XWA. You know, I do miss me some Thursday night throwdowns, that's for sure. Miss doing commentary with Bob Whitney and John Roy every now and then. That was, I remember one of the last, speaking of attending things, I was invited to go to, I think it was the second to last throwdown or third to last. What was one of the last ones that they were doing. And I was just going to go just to, you know, hang out and support the boys and show some love to a place that showed me some love. And I bumped into Bob Whitney, and he looked at me in street clothes. He's like, "You got something better to wear than that?" And I was like, "Well, you know, you always bring your stuff just in case." So I was like, "Yeah, I brought stuff just in case. Why?" And he's like, "Throw something a little nicer on. You're hopping in the commentary booth with us." And so that was, you know, incredibly nice of him. And it was, and doing commentary with him and John Roy that night was just there. It was so much fun. Like, we were cracking jokes, having a good time. The wrestlers were coming messing with me, Gibbs and all that. But to get back to the point of what I was saying is, one of my first experiences there, Kylon King came out. And when Kylon came out, you know, the last time I had seen him in the ring, you know, he was, you know, your standard, you know, young up and comer, like, let's go, let's do it, yeah. So he's making his way down to the ring, and, you know, I'm kind of like clapping, you know, trying to get the crowd into it and stuff like that. Like, hey, look at this guy, you know. And he gets in the ring, takes my microphone, starts cutting me and everybody in that ring down to the ground. And I was just like, oh, oops. Didn't get there. You know, but that's the thing. It's you know, I get, depending on what audience it is, you know, everybody reacts differently. So what you see in one place might not be the same in the next.
Well, let's stay on that same topic, because something very, very identical happened to me at NAW. Now, we're at a gymnasium, sizable gymnasium. And at NAW, you work NAW,
Mhm.
the families come out, the kids come out, you know? They
Oh,
love
yeah.
to have fun over at the NAW shows.
Sure.
So I was a commentator, and it was myself and Milton Rock. And the owner wanted me to be the heel commentator. I don't know how to be the heel anything. And I told him that's not my deal. He goes, yeah, but we got a face commentator already. And I go, but I don't know what to do, kind of thing, really, you know? So I started asking a couple peeps, who were doing some mic work on the scene. And they suggested a couple things to look at. And so I did some of that. And I did my first show. I sounded like ass. I sounded ridiculous. I sounded robotic at times. And then I come to the next show. Same setting, same venue. And now I'm to do 2 interviews with the co-main event and the main event heel guys. Okay. The co-main event was Eric Jaden. That went off very well. And then in the interim, let me tell you, like, I would try to boost the bad guys and they would shit on me because they didn't know, because they know me as Donkey Kate out there. They didn't know I was Donkey Kate, the heel commentator. So they would shit on me as I was trying to raise them up. So that was something. But let me circle back. Eric Jaden was co-main event. Main event ended up being Matt Striker. So I'm kind of nervous here, all right? So not only was I nervous, but whenever Matt Striker came out, he was supposed to be the bad guy. It did not happen that way. He came out, he said something. I kind of peed on the crowd, just a smidge. Just like a quick lift of leg and put it back down. Not an extreme. Matt Striker looked at me, ripped that microphone out of my hand, and cut this huge, gigantic babyface promo along with the crowd on me.
Oh man.
And burnt me to the ground as a babyface. I felt like a fucking asshole. But it's something that I always remember, and it's something I always will look back on and be like, but I'm the heel. That's all I was kept on saying. I sat down to Milton and I just kept saying them. But I'm the heel.
I know, and that's the thing. It's sometimes things like that just work out, and sometimes it's things pivot, and in the heat of the moment, and the next thing you know, what you thought was going to happen was not actually going to happen. And I've been in your shoes many times, and where it's you think one thing and then all of a sudden you got to pivot to another, and it's either way, as long as as long as the fans love it and you love it and it turns out okay, and like I said, it's something you're always going to remember.
Always. Oh, I didn't do 2 shows. I'm a fibber. I did 3. Check this out. Who the heck was on that show? I can't remember offhand. But I did something. I took my cohort, my partner in crime there, Milton, and I looked up a gajillion male names that started with M. And I probably jotted down in a notepad memo, I probably put down 30 male names that begin with the letter M. I called Milton every single fucking one of those things. And the owner / proprietor / booker / promoter / everything over there, I can hear him. I look over. He's fucking cracking up so bad. He was loving every second of it. I kept calling him all sorts of stupid ass names and never his real name. That was the most comfortable I think I felt doing commentating as a heel commentator.
Oh, absolutely, and that's the thing. It's I actually had a conversation with the promoter about that recently as well, because there are some promotions where I do both ring announcing and commentary. And he had mentioned to me, do you want me to get somebody in there to help to join you? And I said, well, it definitely wouldn't hurt. Like, I'll do whatever. It's whatever you want. It's your show. That's. But I mean, in my opinion, and if you're asking me what my opinion is, then it's a lot more fun to have someone to bounce stuff off of, and I also think it enhances the product as well when you have a different voice in there with you. And to kind of go along with that, one of my favorite clips, and I think I still have the video of it. If not, it's in Facebook land somewhere. Just got to do some scrolling, but it's there was one time where Big Daddy let myself and Bad News Bob do commentary for a PAPW event. I got to be the lead, and Bob was he was bad news, as they say, with the rowdy dastardly folk he was supporting. But either way, we were gonna hand it off to Big Daddy, so that way him and I forgot who, but somebody else was gonna do the main event. And so I was just so we were about to sign off, and I said, "Well, ladies and gentlemen, that's it for me and Bad News Bob." And he just goes, "Oh, no, we're going to the local pub." And I was just like, "Oh, well, I guess we're going to the pub, everybody." And he goes, "Oh, and it's going to be on your tab too." And I just paused and I looked back into the screen, something like this, like, that's debatable. And just looking back on it, it was just like there were a few people that came up to me and was just like, "Yo, that was like, you had us there." And so
on the spot and organic, though, right?
exactly, and that's the thing. And that's the thing. I still like, I still like to do commentary every now and then. Shout out to Vinny V. I love Vinny V. Tough and Talented is always a lot of fun whenever I'm there. Unfortunately, whenever he has a show, I unfortunately am already booked, and unfortunately that's been the majority of the time. But the few times that I have been there, I've got to do commentary, and
Nice.
they have a great commentary crew up there, and we had a ton of fun, just bouncing off of each other and having fun up there. And it's something I still like to do because with the ring announcing, in my opinion, a good ring announcer if does not put him or herself as the center of attention. The job is to enhance the experience of not only the fans that are in attendance, but also for the wrestlers themselves. Um, One of my greatest compliments that I think I can get with when it comes to ring announcing is if and when some of the wrestlers come up to me afterwards and they say, man, it's like, I really like how you did that intro. It's like, it's like you were doing it and I was getting fired up. That's to me is one of the greatest compliments I could ever get. And so with the ring announcing, it's like, it's you got to be kind of straight and to the point. And like I said, it's not about you. It's about making it better for the fans and the wrestlers. But when it comes to commentary, obviously you want to enhance the product. You want to, pump up the competitors that are in the ring to the viewing audience, and and put them over and highlight everything as well, and convey the energy that you're feeling while watching the match. But there's a lot more room for leeway. There's a lot more, I shouldn't say a lot more, but there's definitely more room for to show your personality and to
Yes.
bounce around with your broadcast partner if there is one, and to have a little fun with it too, and maybe throw in a couple jokes and and poke fun at each other, or maybe bring up an experience where you had a rough going with it when doing an interview with a wrestler, as you know, Don. So that's the thing. That's why I still like to get my chops in on commentary as well, because it's it's a lot of fun in a different way, and you get to show a little bit more about you get to show a little more personality, so
Yeah.
that's part of the reason I still like doing that.
let's stay on personality, and for a minute, let's sit on the topic of Big Daddy, because I mean, come on, personality. When he opens up the door to the from at the facility, and something happens. Like Big Daddy speaks, and everybody is looking. Who the fuck is that? Who is that guy? He is oozing personality. Is one Big Daddy, and sitting next to him, doing commentary. Never mind all of the learning tree. That's something we could talk for probably 3 hours on that when it comes to stuff like that. But when it comes to sitting next to Big Daddy, and you're doing this stuff at an event, and you're on the microphone, and you're calling this stuff, and talking Tommy, he's doing his thing right now. That's gotta be that's gotta be something, because let's face it, there's always a big fucking question mark with what Big Daddy's gonna say on any given second, on any given day. So talk to us about the personality and sitting next to Big Daddy.
Oh, it was. I couldn't have asked for somebody better to start off with. And I'm not just saying that. Say it. It really is the truth. I mean, you want to talk about somebody, the gift to gab, as they say, and Big Daddy's got that in spades. He's always got a huge smile. He's always exuding that personality and outgoingness, and it's like he makes it easy, you know what I mean, because you see him, the energy, the fun, the passion that he brings to it, and if you can't feed off of that and at least try to match it, then you shouldn't be doing commentary or anything like that, because it's like I said, like the when I first sat next to him, it's like, again, and even when I was a fan, back when I saw him, at the booth before I was sitting there with him, you could just see him down there. He has, the hat, and the shirt and all that, and you see him just, getting into it, and sometimes, because he can be loud when he wants to, you can even hear him too, like even all the way from the bleachers and from ringside. And so that's the thing. It's like you feel that energy and that and the exuberance that he has, and you just get into it even more with that. And it's great too. And then sometimes you get a little tongue tied because they'll throw a little zinger in there, and you're trying not to laugh as you're trying to call the action. And that's it too. And then, like you kind of go to, the next generation, you look at Talking Tommy, and, he definitely brings his stuff to the table as well. It's like you listen to him, and it's like, you close your eyes, and it almost sounds like you hear like the legendary broadcasters of old. Like, he's got the voice for that stuff, man.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just so great to be surrounded by unique and amazing talent that I've been surrounded with, and also to that extent got to learn off of, and in the case of a Talking Tommy, you get to pass on some things too as well.
You're at that point in your career where you still get to learn from the older generation, while you pass on along some to the newer generation that are upcoming in the business, being the likes of one Talking Tommy and such. So there's that circle of the industry that goes around from, vet down, if you will. Before we move on to the first Kincaid file that we did with one Matt DaCorte, how the fuck do you not break into a gigantic rib cracking laughter when Brother Greatness gets on the ground and grabs your leg like he's a little chihuahua and gonna dry hump your fucking leg? How do you not crack in those instances, my man?
Because I'm scared. Like, you see, like when I'm giving those looks out, man, that ain't much of a work. Like, because you hear him, you hear him ranting and raving with the bug eyes, like this. He's yelling Mike Skyros, and he's got, the pan, for donations one week, and he's got the book of Danos the next week. And then he starts grabbing your leg and then looking around all crazy. And I'm just like, I don't know if this guy's going to try and eat my leg, or like, I don't know what's going on here, man. Like, I just know that, this is happening and I'm here, and I hope I get to announce the next competitor.
Boys and girls, because the reason why I bring that up is because I have a vision of one Matt DaCorte's face with the vision of one Brother Greatness's face in that single picture, and it's absolute money. If you have a moment in your life, it'll only take a couple seconds. Go on my page, Don Kincaid, Kincaid. Just go on my page, type in Matt DaCorte, Brother Greatness, all together, separate words, not smushed, separate words all together like that, and just hit the search button. You see this picture? It's going to make your day. It's going to make your night. It's going to make your week. I'm telling you. Wrestling is something, we talk about the uniqueness of it, and that is a picture of wrestling. If wrestling was a picture, it'd be Matt DaCorte and Brother Greatness. Holy shit sticks.
Oh yeah, and that's another thing too. It's like some of these photographers, whether it's CJ Smooth Lens, whether it's Picture Dave, whether it's Mr. Dan, and Katie Snyder, they're just how these individuals get some of these shots sometimes, or even if it's something that you and Fogman take as well. It's sometimes I look at these, I'm like, how did they get that moment so perfect? Like, this is amazing. Like, and it just captures these, like you said, these little fun moments in time, and it's for better or worse, like it's
for better or worse.
They're memorable, and it's actually kind of funny because there was one that because Brother Greatness has unfortunately been doing this to me. He's been tormenting my leg for a while now. And so there was one that Picture Dave took at a TOS training day. That's actually the background of my phone, because the look on his face and the look on my face, I truly believe that in the right hands, it could be the next great meme fodder material. So,
oh man, maybe that might be the title of this episode, for better or for worse.
I thought you would go with meme fodder there for a minute, but
oh, we could do that too. I mean, it's wide open. It's a wide open field.
Find them, meme fodder, ... for better or worse.
I just did that too. I combined two titles together. We will do that. Absolutely. And please, could you share that picture? Because maybe I'll make up a little something on the old, maybe I can chatter up a meme and try to get that rolling a little bit. Maybe we could get that. Yes. Please.
Check your Facebook messages after we
yeah. Please, that'd be some fun. 2019, I look back and I got my very first ever Kincaid file with one Matt DaCorte with the bow tie, with the suit, looking beautiful. You were in the ring already doing your thing. I'm not sure how deep that was into your career, but I don't think it was very deep at all. We do remember that time, but do you remember how long you were in the business at that time?
Fully entrenched. I mean, it really wasn't that long in the grand scheme of things, because I think I started doing commentary with PAPW, I want to say 2018. That's the thing. It's one of those things. It feels like yesterday, but at the same time, it feels so long ago. One of those crazy dualities of life, But I remember, in terms of doing the ring announcing, it definitely wasn't that far into it at all, because I think I remember I actually don't. I don't think I know. I remember because when I would do I would do a few matches on commentary at the big shows. Mostly, not the entire card, which was fine. Like whatever I got to do, just to be a little part of it was great.
Right.
Blast. And then at the alley fights, I would help out. With taking the money at the door, making sure everybody paid, blah blah blah, all that good stuff. Doing whatever I could to just be a part of something, because that's all I wanted, was to just be a part of something, and to have a fun hobby. And again, I've said this once, I'll say it a million times, I never expected it to go as far as it's gone. I'm very grateful and very happy that it did, but to say I expected it, no. um, but either way, so then when I started started to do some filling in for the ring announcing before I was quote unquote the full-time guy. um I would remember, I'd be leaving and stuff like that, and I would see like a lot of the wrestlers outside. I see you like fly, Don Kincaid. And it looked like that everybody was having fun, and I'd see the videos up the next day. They get to further some storylines with some promos, or get to say some piece, get to show a little bit of their personality and whatnot. And I was just like, man, I would love to get to do one of those one day, get to a point where I could do one of those one day. And then I remember I'll never forget, he came up to me, Mr. DaCorte, can I get a Kincaid file with you? I was like, oh, I get to do my very own Kincaid file, yeah, like on the inside. And like and it was fun, man. It was great. And that was kind of, it was also one of the first times I'm like, all right, people are starting to take notice of this. Maybe there is a little something here.
Right.
And so it was fun, and it was great. Don't get that's 100% right there. But it also did a little bit for my confidence too, because I was like, okay, like I think like I said, people, if he's asking me to do this, it means at least I think it means I don't suck. So so like I said, maybe there is something to this. Maybe there is a little more to this than meets the eye for me. And lo and behold, there was.
Now, I bring that specific topic up because you've talked to us already about you as a ring announcer watching the upcoming talent from their first match, from their first promos and stuff. That's what I like to do. I like to get their first promos. I got Matt DaCorte's first little promo right there. So these are the things that we talk about on SCP, is watching the talents grow from the beginning, no matter what their age is, if it's a young talent or if it's an older cat trying to start up, just because this is something I want to do. This is on my bucket list. And if I wait any longer, it's not going to be doable. So some of the older cats jump in and they start their careers, which is fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But I bring this topic up because you've already spoken on you as a ring announcer, watching these young talents coming up. We're doing the same thing with you, my friend. 2019, first Kincaid file. Here we are, 2023. Matt DaCorte, the voice of many a promotion, getting the request of coming back to many a promotion because of the professionalism, how you carry yourself in the locker room, how you carry yourself in the ring, how you project yourself and your voice in the ring, how you treat the boys and girls, all of that good stuff. We've watched you grown from a Matt DaCorte that was very, and I'm going to go back to something else you said, very reserved before wrestling.
Yes.
Wrestling has totally, for the better, changed Matt DaCorte's life, if you will, boys and girls.
Yes.
He's talked about meeting so many. The meeting of new people is something that he thrives on, instead of being like, I'm good. I know an X amount of people, my circle is good. I want to meet new faces. I want to get more talent under my belt as friends, network, relationships, however it works out down the road. Because you never know. That friend request that comes in from that show that you've just shaken hands with said talent might have said, hey, blah, 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 promoter, that kid was good. You should check out X footage and see how his pipes are. I bet you could use a guy like that. You never know where those shaking of the hands go in the locker room and such.
Oh yeah, no, 100%. Like, just for instance, it's like there was one of the production personnel at one of the promotions I work for. He messaged me one day and he was just like, "Hey, one of my friends who runs this promotion, he goes, I gave him your contact info. I hope that's okay." I'm like, "Dude, of course that's okay. Like, why would that be okay?" And then like he showed me like a little snippet of the conversation he had with him, and he was like, I guess the guy he was talking to was like, "Yo, I need to know who that ring announcer is." Like, he makes it sound like UFC, and I'm just like, "Oh shit!" Like,
Yes.
because that's, I mean, another thing I've said a million times is like, my biggest announcing influence is Bruce Buffer. So, and going back to what I feel like the responsibility of a ring announcer is, it's like he had this quote, and I snipped it, and I believe it's on both my Facebook and my Insta, but it has something to do with like how one of the lines that I always remember of it is how like he feels like he's preparing the fighters for their moment of truth when they're all in the octagon. And that's kind of like how I feel when I'm in the ring. It's like, I don't want to try and copy Bruce Buffer's style 100%. I draw from it, no doubt, but like I want to convey that energy that he brings, you know what I mean? And yeah, I kind of went off somewhere there, and I kind of forgot where this was going. So Don, pick it up, dude. Where were we going with it?
No, that's quite all right, because I was going to ask you about this specific topic anyways, because Mr. Mr. Buffer in the octagon, he's a little extra, if you will. He's a and he's pointing, and he is fully enthralled into his intros when it comes to the octagon. And there is no other ring announcer that I've ever seen in my existence that does what Buffer does as of the last, maybe, I don't know, 5 to 10 years in the octagon, specifically physically, though, when he's getting low in the center of gravity and he's pointing at the guys and his face is beat red and he's just giving him everything he's got for that one guy. And he's still got another guy across the ring that he's got to do. Never mind all the previous talent he's already, introed, okay? But he gives it his all. Every ounce of energy this poor bastard gives to this one guy. And do you see, not every single talent, because some are in the zone so much, they just do their bouncy thing or blah, 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 blah. Some of these guys are like with him. They're pointing back at him. They're gritting their teeth. They're doing this because of what he is doing for them, lifting them up as a talent before the bell has even fucking rang. But you do that, vocally, and I know the talent feels that. So we've absolutely talked about what you take from Buffer, but you've honed it into your own. And right now, Mr. DaCorte, I think I've asked the GM specifically, Bob, off camera when we did the STP a couple weeks back. So, can you do me a favor if we have another big gym, because you just never know. It's wrestling. If we ever have another big gym show of any kind, and Matt DaCorte is working this show, because you already know that Matt DaCorte's going to work that show, can you please not do every single championship that every single talent owns? And I know we want to know what belts they're holding. We want to be told visually what we're seeing them hold. And I see your face and I see your reaction.
I think I know where you're going with this.
My man, as they say, was gassed. He was blown. And Matt DaCorte is one fucking professional through and through. But my man was really, really digging deep at one point, because just Ichiban alone, Dustin Waller and Kylon King, just with their championships alone with those three kids, I don't even know how you got through the rest of the goddamn event.
Well,
so I asked.
Thankfully, that was the main event. So, I mean, if there was a time to get completely out of breath, that was that was the one.
But I did put a request into the GM. Let's not blow the gaskets of one Matt DaCorte with all the championships.
I'll just make we call some backup or something like that. I want to share, because that reminds me of a funny story that happened recently, because I do remember that, and that was like, I remember it, like, struggling through the latter part of the, because there was just so much gold in that ring, and it was, I pulled it off, which I'm happy about, but it was just something like, oh man, like that was probably one of the most challenging things I had to do, because there was, like I said, there was gold everywhere, like as you were saying. But um at the most recent Test of Strength event, Lone Survivor 4, I believe it was. Um I was talking to at the time, the challengers for the Test of Strength Tag Team Championships, won the Miracle Generation Tag Team of Dustin Flash Waller and Kylon King. And as we've touched on a little earlier, they are all over the place now, and they have captured a lot of gold.
Yeah.
I was talking to Flash beforehand. I was like, hey, like, are you coming out with anything? What are you doing? Blah blah blah. And he was like, oh, it's like, I'll let you know. So I'm like, so he comes back later. And he's like, yeah, we're coming out with all the belts. And I was like, okay. And then he goes, all right, we got this one and this one. And I'm just like, I love that you have these. I love you to death, Flash, but like, you're not making my job any easier right now, bud. So, but I mean, it is what it is, and it's either way, like I said, it's about them. You make them sound good. You make that you put in what they want to do, and you make it about them. So I'll, even if it's a tongue twister, even if I got to take the proverbial oxygen mask, like you see some of the defensive linemen in the NFL do if they run back a touchdown, I'll make it work for them. But I'll just never forget that. I was just like, you would make me announce every single one of them tonight.
I had Mr. Waller on in the very recent weeks, and we've talked about all the gold. These kids are on fire right now. But let's say on that topic of the energy, because if you notice, Kylon, he's on the mat, he's doing his thing, he's hearing what you're saying, but you've got Flash Waller. He's like a caged panther. This kid, man, his adrenaline is always like 1,000, just always running on high. And hearing, all of these crazy fucking accolades that these kids are holding right now. And I know all promotions, all the accolades, they all mean something. And this is no slight to any promotion whatsoever. Believe me, this is no slight. But for those kids right now at their age, to not only be the holders of all of that gold right now, to have the IWTV championships at this point in their very young careers, I'm just so stoked for those kids, man. I mean, they've got so much really cool stuff going on in their careers. And obviously you can't get to all the shows, so you have to watch a lot of stuff from the distance. Love seeing everything that we're seeing surrounding Miracle Generation. Really, really good stuff.
Oh yeah, and it's kind of funny, because it's like, you talk about the full circle thing. It's like, I remember Flash's first match. I remember the gear he had. I remember his first, like, one of his first promos that he cut. And it's like, you wonder. It's like, I wonder, how far this kid's gonna take it. And then to just see the evolution to where him and Kylon, and not just limited to them, but so many others, where they've taken it, in just what is, in relative terms, a short span. Um, it's incredible. It's incredible. And to just, to see that they made it all the way to, the Midwest, to the West Coast, even. They've been in there with people that, I've watched on TV that I would love to announce, but then they got to wrestle them, and it's so cool. And, and especially with the IWTV belts, because, I remember, was back in the day, so they might not do something like this again now. But I do know that they had their, I think it was Warhorse was the IWTV champion at one point, and he
Yep.
wrestled Cody Rhodes on AEW TV on a Dynamite one night.
They were
So
hand picking local. Cody wanted local independent challengers, and so they were picking at will these independent wrestlers. I'm sorry.
no worries. But it just goes to show, it makes you wonder. It's like, since they do have those tag team championships now, and people do watch that, as evidenced by what we just discussed, it's like, I don't think it's if it's is it gonna happen, but more like, when's it gonna happen? You know.
I
So that,
definitely went with those kids.
yeah, exactly. So that's something that, I'm kind of patiently waiting for, is just to see that kind of stuff. And it's even too, it's like, it's just so funny sometimes. It's like few of my friends would go see some of the AEW shows when they came, like, close by around here, and they'd be like, oh, they said they announced this dude is from Connecticut, do you know this guy? I'm like, do I know this guy? I have his number in my phone. Like, so, that's kind of cool. And that's like, I'm kind of selective with the TV wrestling I watch right now, just because I do see a lot of wrestling, a lot of good wrestling. Just because it's not on TV doesn't mean it's good. It's not good, folks. And so I see a lot of wrestling, a lot of good wrestling. So, I love wrestling. Again, don't get me wrong. I mean, I don't know if you can see it, but I got some memorabilia up here. Where is it? I got a Scotty Goldman. It's a little blurry, but there's an Adam Cole above that, and that's just a little sample right there. Some of the stuff I got. Scotty Goldman, of course, Cole Cabana from a different time, a different multiverse. Um, but yeah. So, like, one thing I always check, every Monday and Tuesday, is I go on one of the very few reasons why I keep my Twitter account still. I don't post on it because I've mentioned this before. Another thing I've said a million times, and I will continue to say, is the longer I am on Twitter, the more I just feel depressed about, those certain things. So I try to stay off it as much as possible. But one thing I do go on there for is to see the lineup for Dark and Dark Elevation every Monday and Tuesday, because they do bring in a lot of local talent depending on where they are. And I do like to check out whenever someone I know or someone I've worked with is on there, to see what kind of look they get. And unfortunately, most of the times it doesn't usually go their way, but still, it's like, in my head, it's like, if I watch this, if I support this, if there's something in the metrics, that shows, oh, this person's match, more people watch this than all the other ones, or whatever it is, and that can give them some support in some way, whether it's an invite back, whether it's a chance for a bigger opportunity.
Right.
I always make sure to to give it a watch, and check it out, see how they did, see who they got to wrestle, and if in some small way that helps, I'm very glad. So
I like to do the same thing, follow the dark and see which of our talents that we see locally here get the call up to do an AEW dark match or an elevate match, if you will. I know they don't get much time, and I know, the time that is spent in the ring with all of the nerves and all of the buildup and all of the traveling and the getting ready, the prep, and talking to all the people you got to talk to before said match is. And I know some of these things are legitimately only lasting 2-3 minutes at a time here. Wrestlers don't care about the time in ring. They care about raising their stock, if you will, getting in the limelight a little bit more, getting across the ring from somebody with a quality name, a quality match, more eyes on their product, their brand, to see
sure.
maybe they could spread their wings to a higher platform, getting on TV and such. I talk about George All often in that example.
Mhm.
Previous life, he goes into AEW Dark, they never let that motherfucker go. They were like, he is a star. Bam! They grabbed right on to George All, and they have yet to let him go.
Yeah, I will admit too. Like, I don't know if they're still doing it, but he was doing this tag team thing with that guy Rohit Raju, and I actually really like the potential for that team because you got the power guy in Jorah, and you got the athletic speed type in I shouldn't say speed type, but I mean, you know what I'm getting at. And it's not like Jorah's not athletic. It's but it's like they got style. They got two styles that mesh together very well.
Yeah, absolutely.
And given the opportunity, I think that's a team that can definitely have some legs on it. And I hope it's continuing, but like I would definitely like to see it continue for sure. And either way, I would just like to see more Jorah Joel on my TV. Like that's really what it boils down to, regardless of who it's with or what it's for.
Yeah. He's been around the dark stuff for a while. Let's get him off the dark. Let's lift him up. Let's bring him to, the main roster, if you will. He doesn't have potential. He's there. Get him up. Get him up there on that main roster on the Wednesdays and Fridays and such. I also like to use Lucas Chase as an example. The Cure. You got to add the Cure because he'll punch me in my face.
Of course.
I always use him as an example, with permission as well. I made sure that I asked such. making the sacrifices, leaving his family for X amount of months, traveling to Texas, becoming the first ever. Not that he knew at that time, but becoming the first ever Rhodes Wrestling Academy champion. You were talking about metrics. I made sure I watched every single piece of fucking media that Rhodes Wrestling Academy was putting out on the old tube, on the old face page. I'm not a big Twitter guy or IG, really, to be honest with you. I would make sure that I watch and push play on all of that stuff because they were showcasing the students. And I wanted to see the growth, because if you're going out there and taking a chance on yourself as an athlete like that, there's no way that you are not going to grow under the tutelage of one Dustin Rhodes. So I wanted to watch this unfold piece by piece as the medias came out. I didn't want to wait until I'll wait till mid-season and see where they're at and then watch the main event, if you will. I didn't want to be that. I wanted to watch it. Again, we like to watch the growth of our the talents that we see. This was the same exact instance, except this was a guy who's already been in the business, but taking a chance on himself. And he had to transform physically, and he had to transform style, if you will. He had to transform in a few different aspects, all at the same time. And he was out there for a minute, if you will.
Oh yeah, no, it's.
But seeing him become the first RWA champion, I absolutely loved it. I was so stoked for him, and you were watching it firsthand, I'm sure. Before we do get out of here, talk to us about we've been talking about the growth of the talents and watching them and this and that.
Yep.
But we're talking about a guy like Lucas Chase. Yes, he's wrestled under a different persona. It's still Lucas Chase and The Cure, but really a different persona, if you will. This is a totally different guy all around. So you were in the business at that time when Lucas Chase went through this transformation. Talk to us about, obviously you're a fan of Lucas Chase and his work. Talk to us about being a fan. Talk to us about being a peer and seeing Lucas Chase coming back from Texas and just seeing what this guy really did to himself, transformation-wise.
Yeah, no, it was. I remember I first got acquainted with him. I believe it was in 2020 pre-pandemic. I forget exactly what. I think it was a WCWE show where me and you had a little fun pre-show. With that one, and I remember from the time I saw him there to the next few times I saw him, with there and with Blood, Sweat, and Tears. I always, I mentioned that at the top of this, with when I first saw Richard Holiday, where I could just tell with the swagger, the charisma, that there was something to this guy, and I saw that to an extent with Lucas as well, because, like I said, that dude, when he has a microphone in his hand, people listen. Like, he finds a way to just grab people. Like, he gets their attention, and that is one of the most difficult things to do in this business, is to get people's attention when there's no action going on. And he had that, and I thought to myself, I'm like, if he puts all the pieces together, and granted, it wasn't like, everything else was horrible. Like, he had a solid base. It's just,
Right.
like, it's like, if you get a little something extra, then there's something that's going to happen, and he went off to do the Rhodes Wrestling Academy. And then when he came back, you saw exactly what that did, because as he came back, he started winning championship after championship after championship. And I remember there was one show the guy was draped in gold, and that's the thing. It's like, you saw what that did for him. It was like that little extra that I mentioned, he got it. And now, like, he's been on Dark, he's been all over the place. Like I said, he's like, there was, a time that, he said his bags were too heavy because of all of the titles that were in it, and he wasn't lying. I can guarantee that wasn't being boastful. That was a fact. And it's great to see, because it's like, again, you mentioned, we've talked about it all night, where it's like, you see, something like that, and they just need a little something to get that kickstart. And when he went to Texas, when he came back, that was it, because he has, ironically enough, he's got the shirt that says it. He has not stopped moving since, and it has just been amazing to see. And it's been an amazing to, again, just be a little small part of his journey. And not only to be a part of it, but just to witness. It's been phenomenal.
Love seeing the evolution. We always talk about evolution on Stirring the Pot. Love seeing the evolution of one DaCorte Lucas Chase. I've asked the wrestlers, the talents, do you remember in-ring matches in their entirety? Some say they have a grasp on, keeping with their match and remembering most of it. But a lot of them are like, they're in such a moment. A lot of it is a blur. It goes by so quick, most times than not, because you're moving. Yeah, you're working with the crowd here and there. You may be, uh, a chin lock for 30 to 60 seconds or what have you. But your brain is always chugging, man. When you're in that ring, your brain is always chugging, even if you're not moving. I've asked. Oh, go ahead.
No, I was.
I asked them for their perspective, because we as fans see it as, obviously, going out from the seats to the ring is a much different perspective than in ring to seeing us out into the seats. I think we remember more as a fan, because that's why we go there, is to see the grandeur and the athleticism and specific matchups, if you will. And we remember much of, like, Joey G on the Frost Force, Stirring the Pot. This dude broke down the stepladder match. As he's saying it, I'm remembering it, because I only got one brain cell. But Joey G, this fucking kid, man, he went through everything and painted a beautiful picture from when the bell rang. I don't even, it's like their entrances all the way to the end, and he painted a beautiful picture. But do you, Matt DaCorte, as a ring announcer, and I know you're not in ring through the entire match. That's why I think this is a good question for you, because I don't think I've ever asked a ring announcer this. You're seeing it from our vantage point still at times, because you're outside the ring.
Hmm.
But your attention is not always on the match.
True.
Sometimes the promoter needs your attention. Sometimes one of the boys or girls needs your attention for a little changeroo. You just never know where Matt DaCorte, his attention is needed. So you don't get to see every match at every event. But can you remember, you know, for the most part, do you remember matches and taking those memories home as we do as fans and seeing the matches from that perspective? Because the talent takes different memories home from their perspective. So do you kind of see it from the fans' view when you're still outside that ring and watching these matches?
Yes and no. I mean, you touched on something when you were setting this up that is very true, and that is, unfortunately, while I do get to sit back and enjoy the matches, there are times where my attention is divided. Where I'll have to run and make a change, or if someone was a late arrival and I didn't have their information, I have to run back and grab it. If the promoter needs something, plug sponsors, production. Hey, tell jokes for 5 minutes while we change the batteries in the camera for this next one, or something like that. Whatever it is, there's little things here and there that might be a little distraction, and in the beginning it was kind of funny because when I was just doing PAPW, people would sometimes message me like, hey, can you give me the results from the night before? And I would list them off like that, like it was nothing. And now it's like, that I've gotten into, where a lot of weekends I have two, sometimes even three, and in rare occasions sometimes four shows packed in a short stretch, where it's like I know who was there, but I can't remember what they did. And I take this back to something my friend said, and we were talking about like what's important in wrestling, because obviously there's different types of wrestling. There's lucha libre, there's the WWE style, there's the Japanese strong style, and all this stuff. And it's an art form with many different subgenres, in my opinion. And the bottom line is what we kind of agreed on was that, it's like there's only probably a very select amount of people that are going to remember every single move about every single match. And it's the moments, whatever they may be, that people take away the most. And you think about like one that comes to mind in recent memory is the Ryan Frost Magnificent Marcos title match. I don't know. Yes, yeah, I know the infamous Waterbury screw job. And but that's the thing. It's like I don't know any. I can't name any of the moves that Frost and Marcos did, but I damn sure remember how it ended. And, with Q and Jiggy and Marcos and Abe just hightailing it out the front door, and the fans enraged. And that's a moment. And I remember speaking again about Dustin Flash Waller. I remember Flash's match against Richard Holiday. That's when I was like, oh wow, like. But at the same time too, it's like, all right, well, that's he had a match with Richard Holiday, and if you can't have a good match with Richard Holiday, that's and then, but then he had the match with that. I think you and I have actually spoken about the match he had with Sebastian Cage at an alley
Mm-hmm.
fight.
Mm-hmm.
And I just remember, like, because, and granted, the Destroyer, the Canadian Destroyer, whatever you want to call it, it's basically just a move these days. But I remember the finish for it, the way he set it up. I thought Cage was going for a tornado DDT, and then he jumped, he did the grab of the hand, the rope move, jump off the rope into the Destroyer, and I literally jumped out of my seat with a holy shit, because I was just like, that was a sequence I was not expecting. And there was other moments in that match that had me thinking it too, but I just wasn't audible about it, and that was, to me, that I remember that, because that when I was like, okay, first off, Sebastian Cage is great. But second off, it's like, I think there's definitely more to Flash than I initially thought. And I'm very happy that that assumption at that moment was correct. And and that was another, flash moment too, when, the Battle Academy was forming. There, thankfully the Battle Academy is at least in most parts. I'm not sure about others, but in most parts, they're over there, the Black Sheep now, I believe.
Yes.
And they're another group of guys. Jake, Zoe, Hunter. The sky's the limit for them as well. They have a tremendous potential, and I think I'm excited to see where they go. They're a great group of guys, and I'm excited for what's next for them. But anyway, when that Battle Academy thing was going, Flash went to where the PAPW facility, where they have that little upper area, above where the restroom is.
Yeah.
I'll never forget it. Flash goes. It was in the heat of the Miracle Generation Battle Academy standoff, and he gets up there and he does the dive off the top into all of Battle Academy and Miracle Generation. To this day, I think it's still the only time I heard a thunderous "holy shit" chant at a Paradise Outlet. It was a wonderful thing. And then to just wrap it all up, another moment I'll remember, and I actually didn't even think about it until the GM, Alex Rojas himself, asked me this. He said, "Matt, what's your favorite Test of Strength match?" And I have seen a ton of great matches at Test of Strength. And Loki and Ichiban is one that comes to mind. And like I said, there's too many to count. Like when Jacob Fatu came to wrestle Bobby Ocean. The list goes on and on. Your video of Karen Bam Bam and Dan the Man has like close to 3 million views now, which is incredible.
It just cracked 3 million. Are you shitting me right now?
Yeah, that's wild. But the one that I remember most, and I'm going to tie this in with something that Kevin Landry actually told me once, because he said to me, sometimes, if you're doing an enhancement match, for WWE or whatever, you're not going to get 10 to 12 minutes, like you're lucky if you get 5. So he goes, if you can't show me something in a short amount of time, then what are you doing, basically, and I remember it was, and so going back to what Alex said to me, he said, he goes, Matt, what's your favorite Test of Strength match? And I thought back to all the moments, and I said Ichiban versus Sammy Diaz for the K1 Classic Championship, because that was Ichiban's first match. And I remember he came in, I said, "Hey man, what's your name?" "Number one." "Where are you from?" "Number one." And then I eventually found someone that spoke Ichiban, and was
Ichinese.
Yes. I found a translator, and I was able to get all of his information. But I remember I said, I don't know what this guy's about. I don't. Let's see, I guess. And my jaw was on the floor after that match was over. And again, it was only about 5 or 6 minutes. But even though we lost, even though it was a short match, I said, where has Test of Strength been hiding this guy? Like, why? Like, and then I remember, going back to XWA, I remember it was one of the first times I had seen him post pandemic, and he jumped off the top rope, and I thought he was going to fly out of the building. And that's the thing. It's like, he impressed me with what little time he had in very first match, and then just kept on getting better, exponentially better in such a short amount of time. And that's why I'll always go back to that match, because like I said, it was one of those instances where you see something and you say, this guy or girl has got it. Whatever it is, they got it. And so again, just to wrap it all, kind of tie this all up in a bow, it's certain, it's not so much every move of every match or whatever like that, or it's like, something was a great match, but you can't remember the specifics of it. But there's definitely certain moments that stick out and that you remember more than others.
Absolutely. Uh, because it's like I don't post anything. Well, as soon as I get to the shows, my data goes off. So I don't post anything while I'm at the shows. I always wait until I get home and then I start, like a madman on my phone. I'm getting those very specific things, the Frost, the Waterbury screw job, stuff like that. Mike Skyros being presented the brand spanking new K1 Classic Championship when it went from a trophy to a title. Uh, the, the moments, like you said, that really, really stick out, I can't get them up quick enough. I just can't get them up. I can't clip them quick enough out of my footage.
Yes, sir.
Excuse me.
No worries, bro.
We've talked mucho talent. We've talked mucho DaCorte. We've talked mucho promotions. We've talked a little sprinkle of life, I believe, in there somewhere along the lines. Friendships and relationships and all of that good stuff.
Covered a lot of bases, my man.
And Brother Greatness, if you watch this, I didn't mean to compare you to a chihuahua dry humping Mr. DaCorte's leg. I'm sorry.
You might be on. Better watch out.
We could go on and on, as I say on SCP, because when we get chit-chatting with the talents, we could just keep going. I mean, it's wrestling, my man. It's our friends right there in front of us, and we're talking about some of the most favorite times we've had, or some of the greatest visuals that we've seen in wrestling on the indie scene, live, or even in the dub, or whatever. But just sitting and talking to the talent on a Wednesday evening, you can't beat it, boys and girls. You just can't beat it. They give us our time. We give them their time. We get on the old Twitter and such in the face page and we look them up and we follow their stuff. We hit the old likes. We get those algorithms going. We get their stock risen. So we get to see the likes of one Matt DaCorte over on the Dub or the Impact or the NWA or wherever, because he's been talking about the talent that has the it. They have something. Come on. If you've seen Matt DaCorte once as a promoter, as a talent, as a fan, Mr. DaCorte, he's got it. It's just a matter of time. It's when. Just like we were talking about Mr. Waller. It's not if, it's when. So we see the shining bright star that is one Matt DaCorte, and we cannot thank you for taking the time out of your life to spend with us, my man. I appreciate you.
Hey, Don, again, I appreciate you, my friend. Thank you for giving not only me, but, all of my, friends, brothers and sisters, in the wrestling business, this platform to be able to come on and share our stories and just, shoot the breeze with a cool guy like yourself, man. It's a lot.
I'm a cool guy.
It's a lot of fun. And, like I always enjoy doing it. And, you're a great guy to, just sit around and just ask a question and see where the hell we go from there. And it's like I'm looking at the clock and I can't believe we spend as much time jabbering as we have, but like I said, man, blast. I love this kind of stuff, and again, I thank you for the platform, not only for me but for everyone else that's come on to stir the pot with you, my friend.
Well, thank you for that reciprocated love, my man. I'm picking up I can't call this episode that. That would eat me alive because Richard Eastone Esquire says that. But I am picking up what you're putting down. We have been chatting for about an hour and 40 minutes. Holy shit sticks.
It only felt like about 5, to be honest with you, but
like really, it just seems like we touched upon 2 topics for some reason.
Right.
Before we do let you go, we like to get the deets of the old face page, the Twitter, the IGs, the Pornhub. Whatever Mr. DaCorte has got going on, we want the deets so we can check it out,
Absolutely. I don't know if this is much to someone's chagrin or not, or anyone's chagrin or not, but I do not have an OnlyFans or like a Pornhub creator account yet. To be decided. It might be something that's in the pipeline if there's a big demand for it. I don't know. We'll see. But you never know. You never know where life takes. But But I will say this: if you would like to follow my exploits on the Facebook, it is Matt DaCorte, MattDacorte. Basically, and on the Instagram as well, it is at MJDACORTE, MJ DaCorte. My first and middle initial followed by my last name. I post all my events, where I'm going to be. I post, the pictures, of Brother Greatness grabbing my leg, or doing the Bully McGuire dance with TKO and Ken Powers, social influence. And occasionally I post pictures of things in my collection, be them audio cassettes, Spider-Man figures, or what have you. And that's basically it, and like I said, I am on Twitter, but I'm not even going to drop that because I don't post, because I try not to be on there. But
All right.
but
That's fair.
yeah, and that's, like I said, Instagram and Facebook are where it's at. If you want to see some goofy pictures and get the lowdown on where I'll be, and to see some good wrestling on the weekends, that's where you want to go.
Yes, excellent. Thank you for sharing those details. Usually I end with that and do an outro, if you will, but I've got one single solitary question before I hit my outro. Do you feel, there's a picture going around of Uncle Vinnie Mac, do you feel that is the guy who has not yet gotten the Spider-Man pictures?
I've seen a few of that, and it could very well be that he went back to WWE because he couldn't get a photographer that could get him those pictures of Spider-Man. You never know. I mean, I don't think there's a Peter Parker in this universe, or if there is, I'm sure there's a Peter Parker. It seems like a very common name, but perhaps he was not gifted with the photography skills of the Peter Parker from the books. But I've also seen that he might have had a failed stint as M. Bison from Street Fighter as well. That was another one that I saw making the rounds. I guess the Bison Bucks have lost their value, and he wanted to come back. That's another rumor I hear. And then I also heard that there was the potential of a Cesar Romero convention that was going around as well. Cesar Romero Joker, very underrated in the annals of the Joker history, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But I can't blame him for that. And regardless of what it is,
Well,
maybe it's all three. Maybe he had several failed business ventures. I don't know, but
man, Mr. DaCorte with the Uncle Vinnie Mac info. Look at that! Wow, I didn't expect to get all of that, boys and girls.
I was a journalist for a brief time in my past life, so
If you don't ask, you'll never get the answers. That's what you got to do. You got to ask.
that, my friend.
This is Stirring the Pot with Donkey Cade, and our very special guest tonight on a fine Wednesday evening was one ring announcer extraordinaire, Matt DaCorte. Thank you, my friend.
Thank you, Don, and thank you everyone for tuning in. And stay tuned. And I'm sure there's going to be a lot more Stirring the Pot with Donkey Cade coming your way in the near future.
Hope so.